How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? It is the MMA Podcast, the 64th edition. It's October 14th, 2013, and we got a lot to talk about, ladies and gentlemen. I said it twice, like my boy Ross. Final Round Podcast, listen to that. Anyway, we had UFC Fight Night, Maia versus Shields this past Wednesday. A lot of decent fights, including Jake Shields upsetting the hometown Brazilian Damian Maia. We got a few news stories, including Husmar Palhares getting cut as a result of something he did at that fight night. Talk a little kickboxing, Glory 11, and of course, UFC 166, one of the best cards of the year coming up this Saturday. Gonna break down 9 fights on that card, the prelim, the main card. Got a couple stat of the days. I'm pumped. Let's do this shit, son.
You're listening to the MMA Podcast.
She's rolling! Yeah!
What's going on? What's up, Bert? I didn't know that Bert Watson was in the studio. Thank you so much for tuning in. It is the 64th MMA Podcast. We appreciate your listenership. And like I said, we got a lot to talk about, so I'm not even going to waste your time. Follow us on Twitter at the MMA Podcast and visit themmapodcast.com for all the latest MMA news. We're joined tonight with two of the finest stacked stallions in the land. First and foremost, you know him as the most intelligent Jew in the world, the most intelligent man in the world. He is Ross Finkelstein, E before the L. Ladies and gentlemen, what's going on?
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, tonight the Jew is entitled to sue. You see, my gimmick was stolen. Ladies and gentlemen was uttered on this show. That is a copyright. That is a trademark specifically dedicated to the Jew. Yours truly, Ross Finkelstein, E before the L. Ladies and gentlemen, listen
Yours,
up.
Julie. Yours,
You
Julie.
want to find me? You can find me on Twitter at Ross Finkelstein, E before the L. You already know the whole gimmick. We got the final round. We don't even have a set show day. We're just taking over. We're coming on days. Doesn't even matter. We don't even have set time. Just go follow us on Twitter at Ross Finkelstein, E before the L. That's all I got for you.
And we are also joined by one of the hottest MMA prospects in Queens, New York. He's going to be competing, I believe, in 8 days, right? 10 days?
4.
Yeah. 4. Oh, 4. Jesus Christ, I'm horrible at math. He is going to be competing in 4 days. It's none other than your favorite Queens, New York MMA prospect. Yeah, the truth. What's going on?
Just, thank you for having me on once again for the greatest MMA podcast and probably podcast in history. Looking forward to this.
I agree.
If you're listening, don't go anywhere. Don't use the bathroom. Don't even blink. Just sit back and enjoy.
And Yao actually makes a really good point. Now that you have downloaded this podcast, whether you're listening on Ustream, YouTube, iTunes, I have installed a program on your laptop or desktop that monitors when you use the restroom. If you stand up at any point during the show to use the restroom, grab a snack, go answer the door because the mailman showed up, Look, I'm not even going to say what happens to you because we have NSA agents screening this call. I'm just going to say a lot of bad things are going to be coming your way. Thanks so much for tuning in to the MMA Podcast. Let's get straight to the first thing I want to talk about. Sort of go back in time 5 days to last Wednesday at the Gimnasio de José Corrales in Brazil, where we had actually one of the more entertaining fight nights we've seen in a while. Before we sort of break down the fights overall, Ross, what did you guys think of the card?
It was a brutal night for the Jew. Lots of things bad and more bad happened. The big positive in the night for me was the Rafael Assunção versus TJ Dillashaw fight. Like I said, because I said it over and over and over again that fight would be amazing. But other than that, disappointing night.
Well, I actually didn't even catch the card live. I was actually training during the time, but I caught it, on the replay or whatever. It was an okay card. I appreciated it. Free fights. I mean, you can't be too picky. So overall, I think it was a good card.
For sure, and we aren't going to focus on the prelims, but I will skim through those results. It was only 4 fights on Fox Sports 1. Lightweight Alan Patrick defeating Garrett Whitley in the first round via TKO. Chris Carriasso defeating Elarde Santos via TKO in the second round. Jan Cabral defeating David Mitchell in the welterweights via unanimous 30-27 decision. And then he got robbed like a few days after in the streets. That was really crazy. Brazil's a wild place. Welterweights, Igor Araujo defeating Ildemar Alcantara via unanimous decision 28-29 across the board. Let's get to the main card where the first fight, we actually saw a fight that not a lot of people were giving credit to. Ross gave a lot of credit to, said that he wanted this to be the title eliminator for the bantamweight division, especially if Cruz, isn't cruising back to the title, if you know what I mean. But no, we had Rafael Assunção and TJ Dillashaw actually in a pretty fun war. The one fight of the night, both men awarded $50,000. But two judges scored at 29-28 Assunção, only one for the alpha male fighter, TJ Dillashaw. Alpha male getting their first UFC loss, I think, since Dwayne Ludwig joined the team. It had to happen eventually. But, now Assunção is just one step closer to the title. In my eyes, will likely take on the winner of Faber and McDonald for the next title shot if we do indeed see Barao Cruz next. What do you guys think of the fight, and what do you think's next for Rafael Assunção?
Rafael Assunção deserves just the biggest possible fight you can have in the division right now, which is the title fight. Well, he can't have that because we have 2 champions and we need a unification. So what can we do after that? Well, there's 2 of the top bantamweights in the world, in Uriah Faber and Michael McDonald, who are set to fight on December 14th in Sacramento on Fox. So the winner of that fight against Rafael Assunção makes the most sense if that unification bout does come to fruition, which I assume will, probably the Super Bowl weekend card in Jersey. But yeah, I think Rafael Assunção, it's interesting because a fight with Uriah Faber again, that it's a rematch, but it's at a different weight class where we've got 2 different fighters now. They've both evolved more. Rafael Assunção has gotten tremendously better. Uriah Faber's had multiple title fights since then, and he's come up short every single time. So they're both in very different situations. So that's interesting. And then Michael McDonald versus Rafael Assunção. That's a great fight. Another really, really good back and forth scrap. And Rafael Assunção showed that he can hang with the best of them the other night against TJ Dillashaw. And yeah, definitely the next biggest thing possible for him, title shot or number 1 contenders fight.
Yeah, like Ross said, he deserves, a top 3, a top 4 opponent at this point, excluding the champions. But, after beating TJ Dillashaw like that, that's what he deserves, But it's hard because you have Uriah Faber and Michael McDonald fight each other. I think Rafael Assunção will fight another opponent, maybe like Eddie Wineland or somebody. I don't know if they fought already, but I do think he'll take another fight. I don't think he's going to wait for the winner or the loser of the fight with Faber and Michael McDonald. So I think he's going to take another fight.
Yeah, and we will definitely see. It's obviously too early to see who he's going to get officially matched up against yet. One man we do know his future as far as the UFC goes. The winner of a welterweight bout last Wednesday, Husamar Palhares, defeating Mike Pierce via heel hook 30 seconds into the fight. I don't want to talk about the cut yet, but Husamar Harris was cut for holding on to the submission for too long. Pierce has voiced a lot of displeasure, saying that after 8 or 9 taps, he felt, his ankle and knee start popping and tearing, which is, a career-threatening thing with knees and ankles. Paul Harris has been cut. He was a repeat offender, and we will talk about whether or not he deserved the cut after we go through the card. But I really think the fight itself, within bell to bell and not afterwards, really deserves to be talked about. Because Ross, you said both after the fight and last night on the Final Round podcast, which you definitely should check out if you're a combat sports fan. You like boxing, kickboxing, MMA. We really try and keep it MMA centric here, even though we are going to briefly talk about Glory. But the Final Round is an all-around combat sports podcast. If you like following the sweet science, want to hear in depth about the Bradley Marquez fight, because I'm literally going to talk about that fight on this podcast for about 1.6 seconds during the 10 solid seconds of sports. But yeah, Ross, you made a very good point in that you were just like, what was Mikey's game plan? What was he trying to do? Like, he knows he can stand and bang with Husmar, and he lost within 30 seconds of the fight, and that shows you that he was willing to play Paul Harris's game. What did you guys think about the fight? And let's keep our minds off that gruesome ending where Piercy's leg got all toe up.
Listen, if you've seen my timeline, if you were checking out my timeline during this fight, during this card, you would have read the tweet that described it the best. Mike Pierce's game plan was the equivalent of sticking your dick in an electrical socket. It was just really stupid to rush in and try and take Paul Harris down, put him against the cage, because you know what he's going to do. He's going to grapple. He's going to go for that leg lock, and that's exactly what happened. He should have stayed on the feet. He should have not even attempted to go for a takedown. Any attempts by Paul Harris, he should have just shrugged it off. He could have knocked Paul Harris out on the feet, no question. Just, I said last night, I need someone to give me the answer as to why he did this, because I do not know why he fought the way he did. It was the worst game plan I've seen probably ever. It was just horrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. I love you, Mike Pierce, but that was just really bad.
Yeah, I love him. I still think he's the most underrated fighter in the UFC, but I definitely agree. Like, there was no reason for him to pull an Alan Belcher and just jump into whatever Husmar wanted to do. Pierce knows he's got very powerful striking, and the guy's got an iron chin. So I don't know exactly what he was doing. Yeah.
Yeah. This fight didn't make any sense, like Ross said. Nobody. I mean, Mike Pierce, he closed the distance on a grappler, and a very high level grappler at that. All he had to do was just jab. What is this guy's name? Oh my God. Husmar Harris. That's all he had to do. Just strike with him. Stay away. But no, he runs in, trying to grapple a grappler, and he got submitted. So, I mean, that's it.
That's it, cocksuckers. And that sound effect you just heard was Google Chrome crashing, so I'll pull back up the Ustreams so all of our people who like to listen live can listen in live. And if you're not listening live, we do the show every Monday at 9:30 where I am, Mountain Time. That's 10:30 Mountain Time. Wait, hold on, I'm really stoned. 9:30 Mountain Time, 8:30 Pacific Time, and 11:30 Eastern. I should know the time zones at this point. Let us move on. I got the Ustreams back up. Yeah, listen to us every Monday night at 11:30 Eastern. You do the math if you're not on the Eastern time zone area of the map. Man, I'm talking fluently tonight. Let's get to the next fight, which is a light heavyweight match between Fabio Maldonado and Joey Beltran. Fabio Maldonado taking the split decision victory. It definitely had its exciting moments, but yeah, what did you guys think about the fight? I think you might be muted, Ross. That or my Skype crashed, which would actually be very awesome. Ross, you there? Yao, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, I guess Ross is missing in action. I don't know what happened with it, but did you happen to catch the Fabio Maldonado-Joey Beltran fight, Yao?
No, I didn't, but I heard it was fireworks. I heard it was actually not as bad as people thought it would be. I actually thought it would be a bum fight, but it wasn't. So, that's all I got on it.
Yeah, Ross, I think you are back. Both of us were going through little technical issues back to back there. You with us?
Yeah, it's hard times here, like
Hard
our boy
times.
Ramses would say. Very hard times. You just
Actually,
gotta roll with the punches.
That's my saying. I want to make it known. Hard times is a Jake Walters exclusive saying, and if you say it, you have to send me 10 cents.
It's actually property of the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. First off, before I talk about this fight, I am shouting out the Rhodes family. Cody Rhodes, Gold Dust, congratulations for winning the most prized dual-man championship in all of combat sports. Anyway, Fabio Maldonado versus Joey Beltran. Beltran got screwed. He won this fight. He won the first round. He won the third round. It doesn't take an idiot to figure this one out. He got robbed. Fabio Maldonado is a guy who I thought before this fight, his only loss in the UFC truly was against Glover Teixeira, which is nothing to hang your head on because that was just a beautiful, beautiful performance by Glover Teixeira. But he lost his fight. It was disgusting to see the judges give it to him and to call out Chael Sonnen after that. You don't deserve Chael. You don't deserve Chael at all. I think he also called out James Tahuna. He should have been cut. That was poor performance.
That's still not realistic, but at least it's more realistic than Chael.
That's all I have. The Jew has no more. The Jew's disgusted.
The Jew's done. You interrupt the Jew once, and he's fucking done, ladies and gentlemen. All right, let's move. Haha, I stole it there, ladies and gentlemen. Let's move to another 205-pound fight. Actually, it ended up being a catch weight at 208 because Thiago Silva couldn't weigh in at the 205-pound mark, defeating Matt Hamill via unanimous decision. And one of the most poorest displays of cardio we've seen to date. By the third round, both of these guys were hunched over, barely even trying. Hamill in the last stanza of the fight was on roller skates, rocked, and Thiago Silva was so gassed he couldn't finish the fight. Ross, I think you tweeted out, if Thiago Silva doesn't finish this, he should get cut. And he didn't. He won the unanimous decision. But like I said, neither guy looked in shape. Thiago Silva looked much different than he did in the Rafael Cavalcante fight. He looked a lot more pudgy, and obviously we didn't see the fight against Cavalcante go too long, but Thiago Silva did not look good cardio wise whatsoever. I mean, put him in the cage against a real grinder like a Sonnen. Yeah, you're not making it 15 minutes with that kind of cardio. What did you guys think of the fight? Should Hamill retire? What's next for Thiago Silva? He's really only lost to the cream of the crop of 205, but then again, he has those 2 wins that he failed drug tests for. Now he's missed weight. He's obviously not in good graces with Zuffa in the UFC.
Thiago Silva is fat. I really have nothing else to say about this fight. It was boring. It was horrible to watch. I'm pretty sure Matt Hamill drank a 40 before he went out there, and he was just kind of stumbling around the cage. And Thiago Silva deserves to be cut for coming in, weighing in at like 307 pounds and not fighting well. So, yeah. I don't like to call things bum fights, but bum fight.
No, this fight was interesting, but Thiago Silva did what he had to do to win. And I appreciate that every single time. Anytime a fighter goes out there and it's not their best performance, it's not that exciting, they do what they have to do to win, and I appreciate that. So I appreciated this fight. It showed you how to win rounds. Um, all I gotta say is Thiago Silva, Black Zillions.
That's all he's got to say, ladies and gentlemen. Let's move up to the co-main event. We had a very surprising fight. Eric Silva on the way up. A lot of people thought, he's this future top 10 welterweight beast, facing Dong Hyun Kim, who kind of was floating under the radar. He floated up in the top 10 before he fought Condit, and I think that knockout was just so vicious that sort of brought him out of the top 10. And then he won a fight, and then he lost to Maia, but that was kind of a fluky thing because he had a muscle spasm in his chest or something and couldn't go on. It wasn't that Maia beat him. Since then, he had beaten Paulo Thiago and CR Bahadurzada via unanimous decision, and he was going up against Silva as a pretty big underdog, and he went out there and knocked Silva out 3 minutes into the second round. Looked incredible doing it. I definitely thought Silva was going to keep up with Kim grappling because Silva's also a black belt in jiu-jitsu, and striking, I thought Silva had the advantage all day. I think the line on Stun Gun getting a knockout was something like 1,200, which basically if you bet $1, you get $12 back. It's 12-1 odds. So no one thought that Kim was getting the knockout. It was an incredible victory. What did you guys think of the fight? What do you think about Kim and Silva going forward?
Eric Silva is a guy who I believe was kind of brought up a little too quickly. I think he needed to fight on the undercard a little more, build him up over time, because this is a guy who's very young, and although was very good when he first entered, he's still a little green and had places where he needed to improve. That being said, he's still very young. He still is going to get better and better. And although this does set him back, it sets him back pretty far. It's not something that's going to destroy his career. It's going to make him go back. He's going to get back into the gym and he's going to work harder. Dong Hyun Kim, on the other hand, now he gets to prove himself again. Now he's finally opened up the door to go back into fighting top 10 guys. Last time he tried this, he was brutally knocked out by Carlos Condit. And since then, he's kind of turned off the Zuffa employees and the Zuffa staff and the matchmakers to another fight with him against a top 10 guy. And he's finally earned that trust back to get that top 10 shot. Obviously, we don't really count the Damian Maia fight, but now he's got a chance to prove himself. The question is, will he go out there and perform well? Will he go out there with knockout power? Or will he shit the bed? Because in this fight, he dominated Eric Silva in the first round. Then in the second, he was nearly finished. He held onto the cage to stop a takedown, and then he was able to land an out-of-nowhere overhand left that hit Eric Silva literally right on the button and put him out cold. It was kind of a lucky shot. It wasn't like it was telegraphed, but it wasn't like a timed shot. He kind of just swung and he landed and he won. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens to Dong Hyun Kim I want to see if he can handle the striking of the top level guys in the division, because we know he can grapple. The question is, can he strike?
Yeah, the truth.
Can I have the question again? Because that was just, Ross gave an awesome speech. Kind of
No,
lost the question there.
just what did you think about the Silva Kim fight, and what do you think about the future for either guy?
Oh, the fight was pretty shocking, to say the least. Seeing Eric Silva knocked out like that was kind of crazy. It actually is kind of funny to me also for some reason. But Eric Silva, he just needs to go back to the gym, work harder, learn to keep his hands up as well. That's something he doesn't do. And I think his coaches need to explain to him also. He's not at a level yet where he can afford to just, keep his hands so low. especially against elite fighters like Dong Young Kim. But Dong Young Kim, that's an impressive win. Eric Silva's an amazing fighter, so to knock him out like that is huge. So both of them, they're still, they're not at the top of the heap in the welterweight division, but they can both go back, work harder, and just keep moving forward.
Yeah, and as far as the future of either guy, I actually think it would be an awesome thing to see him matched against the winner and loser of the main event, which was another unexpected result. We had another hometown favorite, Damian Maia, fighting Jake Shields, and he lost via split decision, 48-47, 47-48. 48-47, I saw a lot of people going each way on the fight. I actually ruled it a 48-48 draw, similarly to Jones-Gustafson. In Shields-Maia, I ruled the first fight a 10-10 draw, rounds 2 and 3 for Jake Shields and rounds 4 and 5 for Damian Maia. But a lot of those were very close rounds, and I can see giving round 1 to either guy. Other rounds were pretty close, and this was a fight that we all thought Damian Maia was going to be on the doorstep of the welterweight title and fight, maybe not the winner of GSP versus Johnny, but maybe. I mean, he and the winner of Condit Brown and the winner of Lawler and Rory would be at the forefront of the welterweight, heap. So Damian Maia definitely brought back. He's still top 10. Jake Shields wasn't top 10. Now he'll probably be brought up to like 8th or 9th or something. Shields is a very rangy guy. I mean, this is a guy who not too long ago, I think the fight was, back in 2010, beat Dan Henderson. Since joining the UFC, has gotten split decision victories now against Martin Kampmann, Tyron Woodley, and Damian Maia. Losses to Jake Ellenberger and GSP. The Jake Ellenberger, obviously a really tragic situation with his, father and manager dying within a few weeks of the fight. But Shields, I think, is a guy, a lot of people don't like him because he is somewhat of a boring fighter. He's just a neutralizing fighter. But I think with another win, he might be knocking on the door again. He did get a title shot against GSP at UFC 129. But honestly, I think he maybe gets back in the top 10, maybe even the top 5. But when you go against the elite, the guys like Condit, I mentioned Condit, Brown, Ellenberger, Lawler, Hendricks, Shields, George. I don't think Shields beats any of those guys, so I don't know about a title fight yet, but I think he definitely deserves more respect than he's getting. What do you guys think about the fight and, the future of, namely, Shields?
Well, first off, Rashad Evans sucks. Second of all, Jake Shields and Damian Maia, I did not see this happening. I did not see it going back and forth the way it did, and I'm not impressed by Jake Shields' performance as so much as I am that he actually managed to get the W. It wasn't impressive. It was, the first 2 rounds were like awesome jiu-jitsu, but then after that it just got bad. It was a Jake Shields fight in the sense that he grabs a hold of the leg and he just hugs it. He doesn't drive forward. He doesn't trip the other one. He just hugs your leg and hopes you fall down. And it's just a terrible method of trying to take someone down. And I personally felt that Damian Maia won the fight. I scored the fight 48-47 for Maia. The first round I gave to Maia. I didn't think it was as close as people say it was, but it was close. I just think Maia did clearly win that round. The second round, Jake Shields. The third round, Jake Shields. The fourth round, definitely Maia. And the fifth round, to me, was the toughest one to score in the sense that there wasn't much going on there, but Damian Maia kind of pushed a little more, and Jake Shields was just unable completely to get a takedown throughout the entire round. He was just grabbing at legs, and he couldn't do anything with it. So I gave that round to Maia to round out the score. 3 rounds to 2, 48-47, Damian Maia. I won't call it a robbery because it's clearly not a robbery. It was a very, very close fight that could have gone either way. You could have had it 48-47 Maia. You could have had it 48-47 Shields. You could have had it 48-48. There's just so many different scores for this fight. And yeah, I mean, Damian Maia shouldn't fall too far down the ladder, in my opinion. It does set him back because he just lost to a guy who was unranked in the division. But as far as Jake Shields goes, I mean, I guess we need to respect him a little more because if you look at the guy's resume, he's beaten so many guys. Okami, he's beaten Condit, Campman, he's got now Dan Henderson. His only losses in the UFC are to GSP and what's his name, Jake Ellenberger. So, and the Ellenberger fight came a week after his dad died, his best friend, his manager. Yeah. That's very rough. So it's difficult to concentrate. And GSP is GSP, and quite frankly, he gave GSP a tough fight. He used the eye poke technique, which is one of the most classic techniques. Shout out to Jack Slack, like I said the other week, pointing that one out. But yeah, I guess move Jake Shields up the ladder. Don't give him someone though in the top 5, even though he just beat someone in the top 5. Give him someone in the lower top 10. Maybe a fight against Koscheck if Koscheck beats Tyron Woodley. Maybe a fight against Dong Hyun Kim, something like that, but nothing like a Johnny Hendricks or a Carlos Condit next.
Yeah. What did you think about that Maia Shields fight? You think Shields is getting enough respect?
The fight was very, very close. You know, it was very, very close. So close, I don't even know who won it. You know, they declared Jake Shields the winner. I don't even have a winner in my eyes, but you know, as far as the winner, Jake Shields, you know, I don't see him ever contesting for any UFC title in the near future. Probably never again. I just think his time has passed, and I don't think he can keep up with the elite of the elite in the UFC. And for Damian Maia, you know, that's a fight he could have easily won. But he just needs to make some adjustments. But I think he'll make them, and he'll come back because he's very, very good at welterweight.
That's right, and you know, we are gonna get to the news, talk about that Palhares cut I said we would talk about. But first and foremost, you know what? It's time for Yao's training log. Where our boy Yao, MMA prospect in New York, talks about his training. This motherfucker was at Renzo Gracie's this morning. He has a competition in 4 days. He has a weight cut coming up. A lot of stuff to talk about. First and foremost, tell us what you're doing in 4 days for those who have not been listening to prior episodes. Yeah, we'll start there. What competition are you taking part in 4 days? I guess Friday, Saturday?
Yeah, actually on October 20th, I'll be competing in the Abu Dhabi World Championship trials.
Okay.
For the East Coast. And yeah, that's the trials, you know, to compete and win so you can get a chance to compete in Abu Dhabi.
Word. So you're going to be in the white belt competition. If you win, do you move on to the worlds, or what happens?
Yeah, so from there, if you win the trials, you'll get an invitation to compete in Abu Dhabi, in the Abu Dhabi Championships. So that's like the grandest prize, and you can medal also first, second, and third. So yeah, that's basically what it's for. Just like the Olympic trials, you go through the Olympic trials to get a chance to compete in the Olympics.
Word. So how many people are going to be in your bracket?
Right now, there's 11 people in my bracket, including myself. So they put the competition. They've been updating the competition list, the competitors list, every single day. And I checked today. There's 11 people in my bracket.
Wow. So have you ever grappled with any of these people? You recognize any names?
No, I have no idea who these people are. They're just fellow competitors, and
Word.
I have to beat all of them. Well, not
Well-
all of them, a few, if I'm looking to get that first place gold medal.
Let's talk about your weight cut. Today you actually changed something up. You changed weight classes. What do you weigh currently? What were you planning on weighing at? What are you going to weigh at now?
Yeah, so right now, originally I was going to compete at 154 pounds, but you have to weigh in with the gi on. Saturday before the tournament, they make you weigh in with the gi on, and the gi is usually around 3 or 4 pounds.
Do they sell carbon fiber gis that only weigh a few ounces?
I was actually thinking about that too, like buying like a cheap flimsy gi to weigh in with, but yeah. So I actually moved a weight class up to a 167. So I'm actually weighing 167 right now, but with the gi I'm 170. So I have to cut down to about 162 just to be safe.
All right, true. So, when did you choose to, fight up a weight class?
It was actually today when I was planning out how. No, excuse me. It was actually today, Monday, when I was planning out how my week was gonna go with the weight cut, and in order to fight at 154, I would have to drop to 150, and that's a 20-pound weight cut basically, and that's too much for just 1 week. So I decided to move up a weight class to 167.
Word. Well, you're a training man. I mentioned you were at Henzo's this morning. How was that?
Oh, Henzo's was great. We went to the competition team class. It was a serious grind. Went there in the morning, rested up, grabbed lunch, and then came back to my gym for a second practice. I've been training like twice a day, 3 times a week. And then on the other days, just once a day. This is the hardest I've ever trained. So I'm going to find out a lot about myself on the 20th.
Word. Well, yeah, I wanted to ask, you rolled with a lot of high-level people at Henzo's. Did you hang in there at all, or did you just get murdered from pillar to post?
No, you said it right. I got murdered from pillar to post. And, it's always good to roll with like higher level practitioners. You learn a lot. They'll teach you as they're rolling with you, tell you, what mistakes to look out for and everything, give you tips. So it was definitely like a good experience,
For sure. Well, damn, I can't think of anything else other than to wish you good luck. Obviously, we'll be tweeting and following you during the weekend's events. You have, any friends, training partners, anything else you want to mention? Diet tips. We talked a lot of paleo diet last time.
No, I just want to thank you guys, for having me on once again. This is good promotion, and I'm never going to forget this. I'm not.
You better not. When you're holding up that UFC belt and your agent's like, yeah, these dipshits of this podcast, I think they're like the MMA podcast or something. I think they want you to be on. You better not just like be like, pfft. You better take your manager by the lapels of his jacket and say, you motherfucker, you better not call those dipshits. Those are my dipshits, you son of a bitch. And then actually knock him out and throw him out of a skyscraper window. But you're allowed to do that because you're a UFC champion. You can get away with whatever you want. Let's move on to the news. First bit of news, really quickly, before I actually had a few topics scheduled to talk about. And pardon me, something just came across on the Twitter docket that I thought was pretty interesting. Gaspari Nutrition, which is an MMA sponsor. We've seen a bunch. I think they sponsor Rousey, sponsor Edgar. I don't know if it's just a sponsorship or if, they get free product and use it a lot, but it just popped up on the Twitters. Ross is saying, Reddit, no, I follow our MMA on Twitter, so it came across on my Twitter feed, you son of a bitch. But Gaspari... Technicalities, cocksucker.
You can't play technicalities on the Jew.
That's right, motherfuckers. Gaspari nutrition product found to have a methamphetamine-like substance. This very well could explain why Ronda Rousey was so agitative during filming of The Ultimate Fighter. It can explain why Frankie Edgar is impossible to knock out. Both of them are on meth. Do you guys have any thoughts before we move on to the actual news?
I wanted to get Yao's comment. Yao, one of your favorite fighters is Frankie Edgar. It has just been proven that he is on meth. So, what are your thoughts?
May as well be Walter White.
I've never seen him take meth before, so I have no comment.
You've also never seen him naked, but that doesn't mean anything.
You've also seen him never not do meth. But,
Exactly.
Frankie Edgar and Ronda Rousey are, in fact, meth addicts. And we are, in fact, probably going to get sued for slander or libel or whatever, which one of those I just broke. I don't know. I'm not a journalism major, you dick. All right, let's...
Defamation of character, Jake.
I don't give a damn. They can sue me all they want. Let's move on. This guy might be on meth too. Husamar Palhares cut from the UFC for cranking that Mike Pierce leg lock a little too long. In my opinion, if this was just a one-time thing, I think the UFC would have just stuck to keeping his bonus from him. But Palhares has done this before in the UFC, got a suspension by the New Jersey Commission, has done it before in competitions, according to his trainer, does it in practice, and he hurt Pierce, who will probably be out 6 to 9 months. The question is simple. Was the cut of Palhares warranted? Although I have sympathy for him, I say yes, just because he was probably on thin ice to begin with. Ross?
Yeah, the action needed to be taken, and Dana White did the right thing, cutting him from the UFC. When you do it once, you get a disciplinary warning, maybe a minor suspension, like 90 days. If you do it twice, you should be suspended for a year. If you do it 3 times, you got to lose your job. And banning him is harsh to say, because you never say never in any business, in any sport. Because you always hear people say, oh, they're never coming back. Dana White specifically, too. Oh, Josh Barnett will never fight for the UFC again. And here we are, 2013, August 31st. He fights in the UFC again against Frank Mir. So anything can happen. Husamar Palhares, he's a good fighter. He's one-dimensional. But he does that one dimension so well. And he hurts people. And it's weird to say that some guy was cut because he hurts guys, because this is the sport. This is the UFC. We need the guy who can do the most damage, to be honest, who's the best fighter. And yet we have a guy who's getting cut because of the fact that he's too devastating and too damaging. But it's definitely justified, and I have no objections to it. I think he ends up in World Series of Fighting. I think they do Okami versus Palhares. Maybe one day we see Palhares back in the UFC, but he's done this in the UFC before. UFC 111. He did it in the Abu Dhabi Championships. He's done it in training. It's just, it needed to be done.
Yeah, I know you were against the cut.
Yeah, I was totally against the cut. It was, I believe, now, I don't work for the UFC, I don't work for Zuffa or whatever, but I believe that it was unnecessary. I don't think that they needed to actually cut him from the UFC. I mean, especially when they start talking about fighter safety. Okay, this is MMA, all right? Guys can get concussions. Guys get concussions and brain damage and pop. I mean, look at what Frank Mir has done. All right, he popped Tim Sylvia's arm. Okay, then he pops Nogueira's arm. How come he didn't get cut? You know, like, it's just stupid things like that. Like Dan Henderson, he admitted when he fought Michael Bisping, he said he knew that Michael Bisping was knocked out. He just wanted to throw that second punch just as a just to hit him once again. He knew he was out, but no, he wanted to fly in with another punch just to, cause more damage. So I don't understand why Husamara is being cut when all these other fighters are inflicting damage. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I'm done.
Damn, Yao seems seems a little bit flustered as far as the future of Husmar. He'll probably end up going over to the World Series of Fighting, probably move up to middleweight, and probably be matched up against a man that the World Series of Fighting just now signed, Yushin Okami. The question is very simple, and I think the answer is yes. Is Yushin Okami the best fighter on the World Series of Fighting roster?
No. He is not.
Who is?
We do not know yet, but Yushin Okami has not fought for WSOF yet, so therefore he cannot be declared the best guy on the roster. Otherwise, you're going back to the Fitch situation. John Fitch, signed by WSOF, declared the best fighter on the roster, and what happens? He gets beat by Josh Berkman. So anything can happen, and when you have guys... they have such a good lightweight division. They have such a good welterweight division. They've got so many prospects, so many undefeated guys. They've got Tyrone Spong. There's too many guys to say he is the best fighter on their roster. He hasn't fought for them yet, and he just got knocked out in his last fight. So let's see what happens.
Yao, who's the best fighter on the WSOF roster?
I'd have to say it's Tyrone Spong, without a doubt. He's their best fighter. He's their biggest draw, probably. Tyrone Spong, all the way. Black Zillions.
Black Zillions. He's a big Black Zillion fan. We will move on to one of this is not a fan favorite. This is one of the fans' least favorite segments of the show, the 10 solid seconds of sports. October playoffs heat up as the Cardinals lead the Dodgers in the NLCS, and the Red Sox and Tigers are tied at a game apiece. God damn it, and the volume is down, but I'm going to take off where I was. Bradley beat Marquez. Football's in full swing. NHL getting underway. NBA in its preseason. Fall is upon us, ladies and gentlemen. That's what happens when you leave iTunes muted. Let's move on to another couple news topics. Glory 11. I loved it. In the heavyweight Grand Prix, you had Rico Verhoeven, the underdog, the Rocky of the entire tournament, beating the favorite Gokhan Saki in the semifinals, fighting Daniel Guida, who defeated Anderson Braddock Silva in the semifinals. And in one of the best recent kickboxing matches I've seen, Verhoeven outpoints Guida, gets the $250 and Grand Prix champion prize. It was a very impressive performance by the young 24-year-old Verhoeven, 6'5". Dude is just so thick. I was mentioning on the final round, the guy's calves were like as big as Saki's thighs. And we had in the alternate match Errol Zimmerman defeat that Gergis guy, and we had Tyrone Spong, the best light heavyweight kickboxer in the world, just crush Nathan Corbett, the Australian, who fought him to a controversial no contest just a few years back. What did you guys think of the card? And in the long term, is this the new K1? You know, I was really bummed out when they folded and kickboxing kind of seemed doomed. But Glory, I mean, they're not only putting on good fights, but the shows they put on with, you know, the graphics and the announcers and explaining, you know, things to new fans, they do a great job. I love the model they've got on Spike, letting anybody tune in, and I'm a huge fan of Glory. What do you guys think about Glory, the fights, all that good stuff?
Well, first off, I'm going to attack it from a business perspective. I want to give credit to Spike TV and Viacom and Glory for the fantastic production. They did a really good job. They've come up with a really good idea. And I know I've been harsh on Viacom in the past, but they're doing something right here, and I'll give them props for doing something right. I want to see them get bigger and better, and they were really smart with who they put on the card. they put on the names that people would recognize in Daniel Guida and Gokhan Saki and Tyrone Spong and Sergey Karatonov. And it was even kind of smooth to put Anderson Silva in it too, because you're going to get people confused. Oh my God, Anderson Silva, Spike TV. Oh, that's Anderson Silva, the UFC guy. I want to see him fight. He's doing kickboxing. Whoa, he's amazing when he does kickboxing. So it was very smart the way that they came up with this card. As far as the fights go, it was an awesome card. Lots of finishes, lots of knockouts. Daniel Guida's knockout of Anderson Silva was absolutely awesome. And it was like a ghost punch. It didn't even look like it hit him, but it just grazed him. And when you've got the power of Daniel Guida, that's what happens. And Anderson Silva is a very, very good kickboxer, but Daniel Guida is just a monster. Rico Verhoeven is a killer. He is the heir to the throne right now of Semi Schilt, who says he's retired right now. We don't fully know if he'll ever come back, but they did fight once, and we know what happened. Schilt won, but he is the heir to the throne right now. To beat Guida and to beat Saki in the same night is incredible, and we got to give the guy props. And Tyrone Spong just showed why he is one of the scariest men in combat sports today. That was a brutal knockout. Great show, great card. All the best to Glory, and I can't wait to see the next one.
All the glory to Glory. Yao, you're going to the next Glory in New York. What do you think about the show they put on in Chicago?
It's kind of hard to follow that. I agree with everything Ross said. It was an amazing show, and it was a show. That's exactly what it was. It wasn't, it was more of a show than a sporting event. And by show, I mean it was exciting, kept you entertained, the lights, the production, everything. It was great. I really enjoyed watching it. Rico Verhoeven, however you say his name, I don't believe he's that good. I just think he's very big, and that's very hard to deal with. I think that's why he won. If he was, the rest of the guys' size, I think they all would have beaten him. Gokhan Saki would have beaten him, whatever. But it was great. It was very good to see Tyrone do what he does best, and that's destroy people. So, it was great. It was great. And I can't wait for Glory 12, the lightweight tournament.
For sure, yeah, that's gonna be an awesome tourney. I mean, kickboxing is going to be something that I think in a few years a lot of people are following, because UFC fans, the one thing you always hear, they're always laying on each other, two naked dudes laying on each other. There's no grappling. This is just high level kickboxers. Honestly, I would not be shocked if in 5 years, I don't want to say Glory is going to be as big as the UFC, but I think it'll be as big as Strikeforce was when it was really popular, if not bigger. I mean, this is something a lot of people can really rally behind, and you've definitely got, a lot of interesting storylines. You have Spong, who wants to box, kickbox, and fight in MMA. You have it's kind of funny. In recent years, it's felt like at times we haven't had much depth as far as heavyweights at MMA. That's something kickboxing has never been short on. There has always been a slew of heavyweight killers, and we see this new young gun in Rico Verhoeven, and I'm excited to see how much he can progress. We got one more topic before we bring the Jew to you and then break down UFC 166. But first, I want to talk about a tweet by Conor McGregor, one he was recently forced to apologize for. A fan tweeted him, Gareth Lynch tweeted him at the Notorious MMA. One night before the world ends, Ronda or Misha? Which, this is definitely something we've probably passed around, or we definitely have passed around on the show before. Something, male fans like to joke around about. Something that most UFC fighters would probably shy away from, because you're probably going to either train with one of them or meet them at a UFC, and you don't want a weird, awkward situation Conor McGregor is not that guy. Conor McGregor does not give a fuck. Conor McGregor likes to quote Dr. Dre, so Conor McGregor, responding to the fan asking one night before the world ends, Ronda or Misha, he responds, one riding dick, one licking my toes. Which that's one of those things you like can see easily coming out of his mouth. Like he's always taken a playful, funny stance. He was forced to apologize. The question is, should he have been forced to apologize? I say no. I say, you have women joking around about, oh, I just want to, ravish so-and-so, and it's thought of as playful when it's the other way around. It's a double standard. Guys can't. And yes, it was immature, but that's who Conor is. Conor isn't working in some cubicle making chicks he works next to feeling uncomfortable. He's a public figure who's known for his sense of humor, and he's joking around. So yeah, I do definitely think in most situations you can't go over the top, but to try and put a censor on Conor just really angers me, because honestly I want to see all the rest of the funny shit he's got to say, and probably won't now that he's been forced to filter himself and apologize. Ross, yeah, should he have been forced to apologize or not?
Listen, people, in Boston, Massachusetts, after Conor McGregor's big win over Max Holloway, the man left his hotel room. He was with his girlfriend. He had walked past the very room that the Hamiltons were staying in, that myself and my brother were hanging out in. We had the door open. He walks by, and he tells his significant other to, quote, shut up for fuck's sake.
For fuck's sake.
This man is a legend. He peered into the room. He stopped, looked in, made eye contact with my brother. My brother gave a subtle wave. He gave a little nod, and he kept walking. It was a drunken haze. It was the greatest thing to ever happen to all of us. Conor McGregor is the man. That's all I have to say.
Yow.
I don't think he. Okay, time and time again we see UFC fighters getting in trouble on Twitter for things they're saying. They should know by now. They should have some understanding of what they should and shouldn't say. But of course they're just gonna keep saying whatever they want to say. So they should know by now, what's gonna happen, and they should have some idea of what they should say or shouldn't say on Twitter. I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Nowadays, everybody want to talk like they got something to say, but nothing comes out when they move their lips. Just a bunch of gibberish. Motherfuckers forgot about Dre. I messed up that last line there, but you know what I'm saying. It's another Dr. Dre quote, like Conor McGregor. The dude was just quoting the Chronic. Come on, son. Let us move on to... I was talking about some of the fans' least favorite segments. This is the most popular segment of any podcast in the world. We're bringing the Jew to you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the line returns. The Jew returns. I bring the Jew to you. It is a beautiful Monday night right here in New York. It is October 14th. It is just a few days away from one of the coolest cards of the year, UFC 166. And I cannot wait for it, ladies and gentlemen. First off, I've got three bets. This isn't a great betting card, but I don't know really most of the odds yet because some motherfuckers decided to move this show to Monday night instead of Friday night after the weigh-ins when the odds come out. Anyway, you upset God too because he's over there and he's pissed off. I gotta hold him back. He's trying to punch you. Anyway, first bet, Velasquez dos Santos. This fight won't start round 2. That's plus 240. This will not start in the second round because it's going to fucking start in the first round. You think these guys are going to just stand around and not do anything? No, these two are going to fucking engage and go to war, and it's going to be bloody and brutal and amazing. Second one, Velasquez wins inside the distance, plus 130. Cain Velasquez is the scariest man on the planet right now. Any combat sport, period. He is deadly. He's going to maul this man. And the last one, the pound for pound hardest puncher in MMA, inside the distance, plus 165. That is John Dotson. This has been the Jew, bringing the Jew to you. Next week, I will have even more greatness. I will have even bigger things. I will have amazingness.
Amazingness, ladies and gentlemen. That is bringing the Jew to you, and he has done brought it. There is no more Jew to bring to you. So we're moving on to the UFC 166 breakdown. God damn, this is going to be a very, very stacked card. We got the heavyweight championship. We got another heavyweight match. We have all sorts of matches with title significance. Really quick, I'm going to break down the Facebook, YouTube prelims because we just can't break down everything, ladies and gentlemen. A bantamweight fight between Dustin Pegg and Kyoji Horiguchi. That was probably racist, the little accent I mixed in there, whatever. It's the unintentional racist moment of the night. Featherweight, we got Jeremy Larson versus Andre Philly. Lightweight, Tony Ferguson taking on former tough, was he a runner-up, or did he even make it in the finals? Mike Rio, tough contestant. And welterweights, TJ Waldberger taking on Adlan Amagov, who's a guy I think we all got to keep our eyes on. First and foremost, in the Fox Sports 1 prelims, we got the Australian George Sotiropoulos, who's definitely been struggling lately, coming off 3 losses. He loses again. He's probably getting the axe. Losses to Seaver, Dos Anjos, and Pearson. Nunes is also coming off a loss to three losses in a row, too, to Josh Thompson, Ryan Couture, and the most recent being his return to, or his debut, I guess, in the UFC. I guess he'd never been in the UFC before, to Donald Cerrone. So the future of whoever loses is tentative at best. You got a grappler in Sotiropoulos, jiu-jitsu expert, who just really has not looked nearly as good as he did when he was rattling off wins against Joe Stevenson, Kurt Pellegrino, and Joe Lauzon. I mean, he was definitely in the top 10 at that point, and now he's close to a cut. Nunes, I don't know. I think Nunes is a good fighter, but you got to look at his record, and in his last 6 fights, he's 1-5, with his only win against Billy Evangelista, losing to Diaz Masvidal, like I mentioned, Thompson, Ryan Couture, and Donald Cerrone. What do you think classic grappler versus striker match, Ross?
This fight's interesting in a sense that it is 2 guys who've kind of fallen from grace. I mean, George Sotiropoulos was basically a fight away from a title shot back in 2011, going into UFC 127, and he shit the bed and he hasn't come back since. He's lost 3 in a row. He's been knocked out 2 in a row, and he's going up against a guy in KJ Nunes who's also lost a lot of his past fights now. But he does have really good boxing, and that is George Sotiropoulos' weakness. I don't see how George is going to be able to implement his jiu-jitsu game in the fight, so I do think KJ Nunes knocks him out, and I think George Sotiropoulos retires after this fight because he's getting old, and he doesn't have a chin anymore. He can't take a punch.
Yeah, he's 36 years old. Yeah.
No, sorry about that. Yeah, KJ Nunes has this all the way. George Sotiropoulos is, in fact, a bum. And KJ Nunes, he lost to Cowboy a couple months ago, but, that was just a bump in the road. I'm sure he got back in the gym, started working hard again, and, he has this fight all the way.
All the way, we'll move from the men to the women, moving to a women's bantamweight fight between Sarah Kaufman and Jessica Ai. Jessica Ai has looked tremendous both in Bellator and the NAAFS, winning all of her fights in the last couple of years. She's won her last 7, 10-1, coming off wins against Zoila Gurgel, which I think she was a pretty big underdog, and Karina Dam, fighting Sarah Kaufman. I don't think she's big enough to really hold hold up with a powerful bantamweight like Sarah Kaufman. I was fighting at 125. To be honest, I thought she looked really natural there. Actually, follow Mike Hammersmith on Twitter. I saw him tweeting earlier, making the argument that she's a natural 115. So Kaufman, I think, is a top 5 bantamweight, and I have Kaufman winning the unanimous decision.
You see, a lot of people, most people actually, are going to pick Sarah Kaufman, and they're going to be very shocked when Evil Eye Jessica I comes out and beats Sarah Kaufman. Sarah Kaufman's last fight was against a 125er in Leslie Smith, and she should have lost that fight. Leslie Smith got robbed in that fight. Most people agree on that one. She's fighting another fighter now who's a 125er. It doesn't matter. It's a 10-pound difference, and she walks around over 125 anyway, so it does not matter. I think Jessica Eye is an unbelievable women's fighter. She's one of the best women's fighters out there right now, pound for pound, and she'll be fighting for the UFC belt. That's what I have to say. I think she gets it done. I think she takes a unanimous decision.
Powerful, yeah.
Powerful.
I'm just going to start off by saying I'm totally against WMMA, and I have no take on this fight because of that.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Really? If you don't mind, I kind of want to ask why. Like, what makes you not be interested in it at all? I mean, you are definitely, the biggest, competitor out of all of us, so you definitely have a valid opinion on it, but what doesn't appeal to you?
Ronda Rousey, she messed it up for me.
She's on meth.
I'm just gonna leave it at that.
How did she mess it up for you? Did you have sex with Ronda Rousey?
I can't answer that.
Damn, there's some serious issues going on between our chocolate Adonis, Yao the Truth, and Ronda Rousey. We'll definitely dive into that on a future show. We'll get the I-Team investigating into that as early as tonight. But we will move on to a welterweight fight. We got Hector Lombard coming off a loss to Yushin Okami, moving down to the welterweight ranks. Marquardt also used to fight at middleweight, since then has moved down, fought Tyron Woodley in Strikeforce to get the welterweight championship, then lost to Tarek Safadine and Jake Ellenberger, both of them looking to get back into the win column. Both men 1-2 in their last 3 fights. One of them is going to be 1-3. I don't necessarily think the loser gets cut, but the loser will definitely be in a position where he'll be fighting for his contract. Who do you have? I think this is really close, but similarly to the way that Boach and Okami were able to neutralize Lombard, I think Marquardt does the same. He might not have elite wrestling and grappling skills like a Chael Sonnen, but I still think it's good enough to get the job done, win a decision.
Once again, I gotta disagree with you. I think Nate Marquardt was a great fighter, but he's kind of hit a low point in his career. He hasn't looked good at 170. He had one good fight at 170, but it was a tough fight. I think he's better at 185. I don't know why he dropped down. I mean, losing to Chael Sonnen, losing to Yushin Okami, and losing to Anderson Silva. We're not even going to discuss Talis Laitis, but losing to those 3 guys, it means nothing. Those are 3 of the best guys in the world. So to drop down was stupid. He's sucked out. He doesn't move as well. He's not good at 170. On the other hand, Hector Lombard, we haven't seen him at 170. He's very muscled up. I think he's going to look good at 170. He's kind of shit the bed in his UFC career. He's 1-2. The Boach fight, it was shitty, but you could say definitely that he won. I mean, a lot of people had for Boach, a lot of people had for Lombard. The time I had it for Lombard, after the fight, I didn't really care. Then he knocked out Paul Harris, which was awesome. But then he had the split decision against Okami, and he was rallying back in that third round, so it wasn't like that was that bad either. It's just he hasn't lived up to the hype, especially because he has such a huge UFC contract. He's one of the highest paid guys on the roster. So this is an interesting fight. I do think that Hector Lombard gets it done. I think he can knock Nate Marquardt out. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen.
Gotta agree with Ross. I think Nate Marquardt gets it done. I think he gets it done impressively. I don't think what is this guy's name? Oh my God. Who is Nate Marquardt fighting?
Jose Canseco.
Yes, Jose Canseco. I think he no, seriously, who is he fighting?
Hector Lombard.
Yes, Hector Lombard.
I was giving you a different Cuban American.
Oh. Yeah, I think he finishes Hector Lombard. Hector Lombard, he came in with a lot of hype, and it's all gone now. He's approaching bum status, and after he loses, he'll be officially at bum status.
The next drop I'm getting is just Ramses going bum status, because I definitely like the word on the street when we got
Word on the street.
What up, Ramses? All right, we will move on. Lombard and Nate. You know, if both of these guys keep it standing and really exchange, that'll be a hell of a fight, because both of these guys can put out some power in their punching. We'll move on to the last fight on the prelim card, a middleweight fight. It's kind of funny, the UFC doesn't like to match losers up against winners, but both of these guys are sort of on opposite trajectories. Both of them are 2-2 in their last 4, but one of them's coming off 2 losses, one of them's coming off 2 wins. We got Tim Boetsch, who looked great at UFC 144 and 149, knocking out Yushin Okami in one of the best comeback fights we've ever seen, and beating Hector Lombard in a split decision. But since then, in the last year, he's lost to Costa Philippou and Mark Munoz. Costa finished him in the 3rd round, and he lost a unanimous decision to Mark Munoz, who's really roared back. CB Dalloway, he's coming off 2 wins. He also lost to Mark Munoz back in 2011, 1st round KO, then lost a TKO to Jared Hammond. Since then, he beat Mayhem Miller at UFC 146 and tough Brazil standout Daniel Sarafian with a split decision victory this past January at that UFC Belfort Bisbing card. Both of them going in opposite directions, and I think they're about to send each other where they came from. I think Dalloway is definitely a decent wrestler, but Boetsch is a barbarian. I love that redneck judo. And I have Boetsch taking this one either by TKO or 30-27 decision.
Yeah, I think, well, first off, before I give my prediction, the reason this fight is happening is because CB Dalloway is a late replacement. That's why they're matched up. Luke Rockhold was supposed to fight Tim Boetsch. He's coming off of a loss, so they needed to find someone because Rockhold got injured. CB Dalloway stepped up. And that's exactly what happened. So, that being said, I do think Tim Boetsch wins this fight. CB Dalloway isn't that good. He's okay. He's not great. Tim Boetsch is still a very good fighter. He's obviously not a top 5 guy. If he's top 10, he's number 10. So he's not really high up anymore, but he's still better than most of the guys in the division. So he can beat any of the guys outside of the top 10, I'd say, or maybe below the top 12, top 15. So CB Dalloway's below, and I think Tim Boetsch gets it done 30-27, or finishes him with the TKO.
Yeah, those dudes fighting up with Hume and Washington are powerful. Yeah?
Yeah, I think Tim Boetsch gets it done. I think he's a better fighter than CB Dalloway, and he comes from an amazing team. You know, his coach, Matt Hume, amazing coach, very intelligent, but yeah, he gets it done.
And yeah, Ross actually mentioned something I forgot to go over. Some notes about the card. Yeah, Boach was supposed to face Rockhold. Actually, Matt Grice was originally supposed to be on this card, and definitely thoughts going out to Grice and the Grice family. Hope he's recovering well. He was going to fight Jeremy Larson, but obviously about a month ago he got in that car accident. Grice replaced by Charles Oliveira, whose opponent Estevan Payan also backed out due to injury. But just a couple weeks ago, Oliveira pulled out, so Larson is now fighting, like I mentioned, Andre Philly, who's making his UFC debut. Also, we were supposed to see George Roop versus Francisco Rivera, but that was moved to UFC Fight Night 31, and Kaufman vs. I was put on the Fox Sports 1 prelims to replace that. And speaking of the prelims, we're done with the prelims. We're moving on. We're moving to the main card. We got John Dodson taking on Daryl Montague. I have Dodson all the way in this fight, and I would break it down, but I know my boy Ross is a big fan of John Dodson. Ross, tell us about why you think Dodson's going to beat Montague, and after that, what his prospects look like in the 125-pound division.
John Dodson's the best guy in the 125-pound division who doesn't have the belt right now, and I even put him above Joseph Benavidez. John Dodson hits you and you go down no matter who you are. You weigh 125, you weigh 135, you weigh 170. You're going to fall down to John Dodson. He's that powerful. This 5'3" guy somehow manages to destroy people. So credit to John Dodson for that. Montague is an amazing prospect. He is probably the best flyweight outside of the UFC right now, and now he's finally in the UFC. It's just unfortunate he's got to fight John Dodson, who's just so damn good. He will eventually get his shot. He will eventually fight for the UFC belt, I believe, Montague. But Dodson's the better fighter right now. Dodson's more powerful. He's not going to destroy him. He's going to put him out cold.
Yeah, the truth.
Yeah, I have a totally different take on this. This Montague kid, he's going to beat John Dodson, and it's as simple as that. He doesn't care who you are. He doesn't care who you fought. He doesn't care who you beat. He doesn't care where you've been, where you train, your coach, nothing. He's coming to finish you no matter what. And this Saturday, he's going to finish John Dodson.
Powerful words. Yeah. Dodson is 5-1 in his last 6, beating guys like T.J. Dillashaw, John Moraga, Tim Elliott, Husier Formiga. His only loss, that unanimous decision to Demetrius Johnson in Chicago. You got Daryl Montague, who's fought at both 135 and 125 on a 4-fight win streak since losing to Uncle Creepy right before Creepy joined the UFC. Doing very well in 4 different promotions all over the world. So yeah, this is going to be an awesome fight. I think I've only seen 1 or 2 of Montague's fights, and it was like a grainy YouTube video, and he's definitely an exciting guy. I think Dodson gets by him, but I think Montague's going to stick around for a while. Let's move to the heavyweights. Gabe Gonzaga and Sean Jordan, both of them on the up and up. That's why they're fighting on the main card. Jordan, an ex-college football player for LSU, rep to the SEC. Coming off 2 wins against Mike Russo and Pat Barry, both by TKO in the second and first round, respectively. Gabe Gonzaga is 1-1 in his last 2, losing to Travis Brown early in the first round of that tough 17 finale, and then recently beating Dave Herman very early in the first round. I think it was 17 seconds at UFC 162. So both of these guys like to bang. I like Gonzaga's experience, but honestly, I think Jordan, Jordan almost has as many fights, even though he hasn't been fighting as long, and I think he has the athleticism to actually beat Gabe Gonzaga, so I'm going with Sean Jordan. Huss?
Yeah.
What do you think about the fight? Yeah, you there, Ross?
Yeah, I'm talking.
Oh shit! I couldn't even hear you. I thought you were muted or something. You're fading in and out. Speak to us, Ross. Here, we'll start off with Yao and try and get your connection figured out. Yao, what do you think about Sean Jordan versus Gabe Gonzaga?
This is like, athletics against brute strength and brutality. I think Sean Jordan should win this fight, but he's at one mistake to lose everything. Especially a guy like Gabriel Gonzaga, who's very well rounded. He has knockouts as well as submissions. So no matter where this fight goes, Sean Jordan isn't safe.
Word. And let's try and add Ross back to the call if we can.
You hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. It says you're not in the call though. This is freaky, but I can hear your voice. Are you there?
This is the ghost. Hold on, I need the effects. The ghost of Ross, actually alive, but he is here. Break down Sean Gabriel Gonzaga. So the ghost of Ross.
You're coming in and out. It's like a couple seconds in, a couple seconds out, a couple seconds in, a couple seconds out. Try and hang up. Maybe figure out your connection. We'll get a double dose of breakdowns from you next time we hear your beautiful voice. We'll move on to Melendez versus Sanchez. Me and Ross will break it down, and then we'll get that double dose, the heavyweight and lightweight matchups. By our boy Ross Finkelstein, and I'll give him a little bit of time because between now and then we got a stat of the day. A stat of the day, like I mentioned, we're moving on to the lightweights. Former Strikeforce champion taking on Diego Sanchez. Ross, are you with us?
Yeah, check.
Yeah, I can hear you now, but I feel like you're about to cut out again. I was actually watching the recording, and it was like you would be in for 2 seconds and out for 2 seconds, and in for 2 seconds and out for 2 seconds.
Connection over here. Can you?
No, this is not a good thing whatsoever. Maybe try and use your phone, restart your laptop, do something. I'm gonna give you a few minutes while we break down Melendez versus Sanchez. Godspeed to Ross. And this is what I love about the MMA podcast. You get to listen to all of this inane bullshit, and I'm not gonna cut it out because I want you to listen. God damn it. Yao, you can get some sleep when this show is over, you motherfucker. Stat of the day time, Gilbert Melendez versus Diego Sanchez. Let's do it. Shout out to the Dan Patrick Show, Patrick Seaton O'Connor, and Jamie Josta for this beautiful clip.
Stat of the day! Stat of the day! Stat of the day! Stat of the day! Here comes the stat of the day!
Last time Diego Sanchez finished a fight, Bush was still president when he beat Luigi Fioravanti at the Tough 7 finale in June 08. Since then, Gilbert Melendez has fought for the UFC or Strikeforce Championship belt 9 times.
Stat of the day! Stat of the day! Stat of the day! Stat of the day! Here comes the stat of the day!
And the fact that he fought for the belt 9 times means that Gilbert Melendez has won a lot of fights in a row. He won 7 in a row in Strikeforce before coming over to the UFC and taking on Benson Henderson, fighting to a split decision back on 4/20 of 2013. Diego Sanchez has not necessarily had as impressive a knock. We haven't seen him bust out 7 in a row. He is 3-3 in his last 6 fights. Losses to BJ Penn, John Hathaway, and Jake Ellenberger. But wins against Paulo Thiago, Martin Kampmann, and Takanori Gomi. And not just one of those fights was a controversial decision. Diego, definitely the fights against Gomi and Kampmann were somewhat contentious. But saying that, I have Gilbert all the way in this fight. I don't think Sanchez is a bum necessarily like a lot of people do, but Melendez is just a cut above. Ross, are you with us? If you are, say something, I guess.
Something. Can you hear me? Is this working?
There he is. It's much better. There you go. You missed my beautiful stat of the day where I told the people that since Diego Sanchez finished a fight, Gilbert has fought in 9 UFC or Strikeforce championship fights. What do you say about Gil versus Sanchez? And because we missed it, what do you say about Gabe Gonzaga versus Sean Jordan? A double dose of the Jew.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages,
Ladies
the
and gentlemen.
Jew is back. First off, I want to break down the Sean Jordan-Gabriel Gonzaga fight. This is a very cool fight because you have the very athletic Sean Jordan versus the very technical Gabriel Gonzaga. This is a classic striker versus grappler matchup. The question will be, can Sean Jordan keep it on the feet long enough to knock Gabriel Gonzaga out, or can Gonzaga catch him in a submission? And I think the latter is more likely. I think Gabriel Gonzaga is just slightly better. I think he ends up getting this to the ground and finishing with a guillotine. But who knows? Anything can happen. And as far as Gilbert versus Diego goes, I love this fight. It's entertaining, but we're talking about two totally different fighters. We're talking about Diego Sanchez, who should have lost his last fight, and we're talking about a killer in Gilbert Melendez, who could arguably be the lightweight champion right now. So I think Gilbert wins this fight. I think Gilbert may finish Diego Sanchez. Diego hasn't been finished by strikes or submitted. So this will probably be his first true finish other than the BJ Penn fight. But yeah, Gilbert mauls him.
Yeah. And really quickly, this is definitely a late show. We start at 11:30 Eastern. It's now 1 o'clock a.m. Eastern. Our boy Yao, he has training. He has competition this coming weekend. So we'll keep it really quick. Yao, Sanchez, Melendez, who you got?
I gotta go with Gilbert Melendez. Diego Sanchez is a bum. He's fat. He's overweight. He doesn't make weight. He trains with Greg Jackson. His time has passed. He needs to retire. Maybe do some seminars before he, I don't know, starts driving a school bus. I don't know. But Gilbert Melendez, he has this fight all the way. And he's going to finish Diego Sanchez.
The co-main event, the heavyweights, Daniel Cormier taking on Roy Nelson. Who wins between the big boys?
Me or Ross?
You, really quick. We're going through your picks really quickly, and then I'm letting you go.
Oh, I gotta go. I'm actually more excited. This is the most exciting fight on the card for me.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see Daniel Cormier take out Roy Nelson. You know, he's just gonna outclass him and show him what fighting is all about. And I just can't wait for it. He's gonna outclass Roy Nelson.
We got the black GSP going with the black Fedor. And finally in the main event, Cain Velasquez versus Junior Dos Santos. The trilogy fight. Each man has won a single fight apiece. Who wins the third one on Saturday? You with us, Yao? Yao, the truth. Are you there? Are you muted?
Yeah, I'm here.
There he is.
I was muted. On Saturday night, live from Houston, Junior Dos Santos will defeat Cain Velasquez. He will either A, knock him out, B, take him down and ground and pound him, or C, go to a decision. And I can't wait to see it. It's going to be one for the ages, and one more for Brazil, too, also.
One more for Brazil. I'm going with option B, but for Cain Velasquez. But that's a spoiler, ladies and gentlemen. Don't worry about any of those silent parts, because I cut all that shit out in post, son. Anyway, thank you for coming on. We definitely appreciate the time. You staying up late with us. We know you got to be up very early in the morning to go train. I know I'll talk to you between now and then, but for the listeners, the next time we'll hear you. We'll hopefully be talking about your win at the Abu Dhabi Championship and your invitation to bigger and better things. Yao, as always, thank you for coming on. Follow him on Twitter at YAO_the truth. And you are the shit, buddy. Anything else you want to shout out before we let you go?
No, just thank you guys, really. I mean, it's always a pleasure.
It is. You are not only a good podcaster, but a good friend of mine. We'll talk to you later, buddy.
Later.
Peace. And that was, the truth. It's only me and Ross now. The Jew and I left to our own devices. And like I said, we will get to the main and co-main event. Daniel Cormier taking on Roy Nelson, the undefeated 12-0 Cormier. Obviously, his keystone wins are against Antonio Silva, a first-round KO, a unanimous decision against Josh Barnett, where he just tossed him around like a little boy, and a unanimous decision against Frank Mir using clinch work in what was a fight that Cormier even himself admitted he was not happy with, had the UFC jitters. Hopefully we won't see those same jitters. We know his opponent Roy Nelson does not have any sort of UFC jitters, and I've said it a million times on the show. Roy Nelson fights only seem to end two ways. Either Nelson knocks the guy out with an overhand right in the first or sometimes second round, usually the first round, or he loses a unanimous decision where the guy just whoops his ass pillar to post, bell to bell. We've seen him knock out guys like Brendan Schaub, Stefan Struve, Dave Herman, Matt Mitrione, Chick Congo, all in the first round. We've also seen guys like Junior Dos Santos, Frank Mir, Fabricio Verdum, and Stipe Miocic bully him for 15 minutes. I think we're going to see that second sort of variety on Saturday night. I don't think Cormier finishes the fight because Roy has got a hell of a chin under that big old pad of a beard. But Cormier beats him up for 15 minutes. He's saying this will be his last fight at 265. If Kane wins, that'll definitely be the case. If Junior wins, we'll see. But Cormier saying this is his last fight at heavyweight, as his teammate and good friend Cain Velasquez is the champ. And the champ a weight class below. He and John Jones have a little bit of bad blood, so that makes a lot more sense. Ross, what do you think about this battle of the bellies, Cormier versus Nelson?
Daniel Cormier has gotten his first UFC fight out of the way. He's gotten the jitters out. He knows what it's like now to fight on the biggest stage you can possibly fight on in the UFC, on Fox. It was the co-main event against a former UFC champion, and he dominated him. So now he's ready to kill. He's on his way down to 205. He will be in the best shape of his entire mixed martial arts career on Saturday night. He will absolutely dominate and destroy Roy Nelson from start to finish. He may finish him, probably won't, but he could. He's going to slam him. He's going to throw him. It's going to be the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. And he's going to be lean and mean at 205, and he is going to give whoever the champion is at that time a very, very, very tough fight.
I think he is too. The guy is an Olympic-level wrestler, as we all know, and his striking seems to get better every single fight, if you don't count the Mir fight. But he's definitely on the up and up, and one of my favorite, new fighters. We did not know much about Cormier until really 2011 when he started fighting for Strikeforce, and then we really started knowing about him when he knocked out Antonio Silva. Started as an alternate, but won that Grand Prix tournament that Strikeforce put on. I definitely think Cormier does work for 15 minutes in this fight against Nelson. I'd say he finishes anyone else, but Nelson is he's got a hell of a chin. Stat of the daytime. Am I going to do it twice this podcast? Yes, I am.
Start of the day! Start of the day! Start of the day! Start of the day! Here comes the start of the day!
Let's give Cain Velasquez credit for being the best heavyweight ever. His 8 knockouts and 27 takedowns are more than any heavyweight in UFC history. His striking differential rate of 4.9 and 6.5 significant strikes per minute are more than any fighter in UFC history.
Start of the day! Start of the day! Start of the day! Start of the day! Here comes the start of the day!
Once again, shout out to the Dan Patrick Show, Jamie Josta, Patrick Seaton, O'Connor. If you aren't watching that show every morning from 9 to 12, I don't know what the fuck you're doing with your life. That's Eastern. It is on NBC Sports, and I love how we're giving a show literally with probably 10,000 times as many viewers a shout out. But it definitely is a great show and deserves all the shout outs it can get, along with the box score afterwards. All right, we got a heavyweight championship fight. Cain Velasquez, the champion, taking on Junior Dos Santos. The first time they fought at that UFC on Fox 1 card, Junior Dos Santos won 64 seconds in with a knockout. Apparently, Cain came in with a knee injury. The second time around at UFC 155, Cain beat the living fuck out of Junior Dos Santos for 25 minutes. Apparently, Junior Dos Santos came in, had overtrained. I don't have the name of the actual affliction in front of me, but apparently he was not well as far as his insides went. He had overtrained and he was fucked up the second time. So hopefully neither one will be fucked up this time around. But Cain, I've said it on previous episodes, I don't think any fighter in the UFC can beat Cain Velasquez. I think he is the cream of the crop. Obviously the baddest man on the planet is the heavyweight champion, and Cain is that champion. 12-1, the only loss being to Junior Dos Santos. Dos Santos is 16-2. He had kind of a BS, not a BS loss, but a loss early in his career since he's joined the UFC. His only loss is to Cain Velasquez. Both of these guys, I mean, Cain seems like the only guy that can beat Junior. Junior seems like the only guy that can beat Cain. I would not be shocked if these guys fought 4 times. I don't know if we've ever seen a UFC quadrilogy, but whoever loses, I think wins a couple more and gets right back into a title shot. Neither one of these guys are necessarily getting close to retirement age. Cain's 31, Junior's 29. These are just the easily the top 2 best guys, and I don't think we really see that at a lot of divisions. I think we see it at welterweight. Easily the top 2 guys are about to fight for the title. But yeah, this is a fight I have been looking forward to for a long time. We're finally going to see it Saturday in Houston, Texas, at some bullshit arena. I don't have it in front of me, but it's going to be the main event, and I am psyched as shit for it. I got a pot cookie, cocksuckers. I'm ready to go. Ross, what do you think about the championship fights?
This is the greatest trilogy fight to ever take place in the UFC. I cannot wait for Saturday. I've been waiting for this fight for a very long time, and I cannot wait. I think Cain Velasquez is unreal. He is explosive. He is powerful. He is fast. He is got a good chin. He's got cardio for days. He just doesn't stop. He comes forward. He grinds. He embraces that grind. And Junior Dos Santos says he hits like a girl. Well, JDS, your face was unrecognizable after that last fight. He doesn't hit like a girl. He hits like a power puncher. And he's going to maul JDS. It's going to be beautiful. This time he's going to get the finish. He's going to use jiu-jitsu to finish this fight, either with a TKO or a submission, but it's going to be based off of jiu-jitsu because he's going to be able to hold him down this time. JDS will not stand up as easily. He will stay down. Cain Velasquez is a guy who may very well retire undefeated other than his loss to JDS the first time. He may retire undefeated in his current run at the heavyweight division. I don't see anybody being able to beat him in that division. Even Cormier. I don't think Cormier can beat him. I think Cain Velasquez is unbeatable. I think he's just too good, too fast. He's got the cardio for days. There's just no way you can stop this guy. I think he beats JDS. I think he finishes him. I think he fights Fabricio Verdum sometime in April 2014 in Mexico City. That's a huge fight in Mexico.
Huge.
So look out for that one. That's going to be good. But Verdum doesn't even have anything for him. There's just nobody who has anything for Cain Velasquez. You go down the roster, and he beats every single person in the heavyweight division. I think he beats John Jones. I think he beats Alexander Gustafsson. I don't think maybe Mighty Mouse can beat him. No one can beat him. There's not a person on the planet who can beat Cain Velasquez. Cain Velasquez is a killer.
I totally agree. Cain is the baddest man on the planet. And one other thing I want to talk about before we go in, who do you think has the mental edge going into it? I say Cain, just because the last time they fought, they went 25 minutes and Cain beat him pillar to post. But we've heard what both guys have got to say. We've watched the UFC countdown shows. Who do you think going into it has the mental advantage?
Well, JDS knocked him out in a minute, and we didn't really see a whole lot. Then Cain Velasquez mauled him and dominated him in every aspect of mixed martial arts for 25 minutes straight. And we did see everything, and we saw who the better man was. That's the most recent fight. That was the most devastating fight, most dominant fight. So Cain Velasquez has the mental edge. He just destroyed Bigfoot Silva again with ease, who's actually a good friend of JDS. JDS had 3 tough rounds with Mark Hunt finally being able to put him away with that spinning wheel kick. But Mark Hunt and Cain Velasquez are 2 totally different people, and Cain Velasquez is a killer. He knows that Cain's punches hurt. He knows what Cain can do to him. He knows that Cain can grind on him and take him down. He hasn't really proven himself to Cain other than knocking him out once, but that was just one punch in a minute. You can't judge anything off of that. It lasted a minute. So Cain Velasquez has the mental edge for sure.
Does Fabricio get the next title shot, Fabricio Verdum?
Absolutely. Fabricio Verdum fights the winner of this fight in, I'd say, April 2014, May 2014, sometime around there in the spring. And then the winner of that fights the winner of Josh Barnett versus Travis Brown.
Word, yeah, it'll be refreshing to see Cain fight somebody other than Junior Dos Santos or Antonio Silva. Since he beat Brock October 2010, his only 5 opponents: Dos Santos, Silva, Dos Santos, Silva, Dos Santos. But then again, me and Ross are going heavy on Cain, but you never know what happens. The last 2 main events, we thought that Maia was going to shit all over Shields. Shields won a decision. We thought Jones was going to shit all over Gustafsson. Gustafsson nearly won a decision. This is MMA. Anything can happen, and that's why I love the sport. That's why I love doing the podcast, that and talking with all of my beautiful friends. And speaking of my friends, it would be remiss. It's still October 14th here in Denver, Colorado, which means, at least here, it's still the 29th birthday of someone who's regularly on the show, regularly listens when he can't make it, our buddy Alan Hamilton on Twitter at Westland Eagle AH. Follow him. He's one of the nicest guys on Twitter, protecting the mean streets of Baton Rouge. And Ross, you can join me or not, but Alan, this is to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Alan. Happy birthday to you. Yeah, I didn't think you were going to join in, Ross. That's the first time I've sung. Hopefully the last time I'll sing on the podcast. But I promised Alan I would do it. I would serenade him. Thank you so much for tuning in to the MMA Podcast. We love doing it. Like I said, this is the 64th show. I'm looking forward to the next 64. You can follow us on Twitter at the MMA Podcast. Visit themmapodcast.com. I'm not gonna lie, it was dead, folks. It was dead for quite a while, and recently I took out the paddles and I brought that bitch back to life. I've been posting up stories. The MMA Podcast team has been posting up stories, which is only me, but hopefully, maybe soon we can get other people in on it. I like doing that. So the MMApodcast.com is actually back up. You can click the links at the top, find our YouTube link, find our iTunes link, and all that good stuff. Also find the Twitters for all of our friends, like the Aunt Jimmy Show, like C. Lowenstein, like Yow_the_truth, our buddy Elena, Danielle, Westlin Eagle, AH, our boy Hero, MMA Mental, J Jeans, I love them all. I love the Jew, Ross Finkelstein, E before the L. Where do we find you?
Where do you find the Jew? Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to find the single best Jew in the business, and I'm not trying to be egotistical here. I'm clearly trying to be egotistical. I've been given this nickname by the best of people, so I run with it. If you want to find me on Twitter at Ross Finkelstein, E before the L. I'm doing the final round. I'm doing Jew shit. I'm celebrating Shabbat. I give you gifts. I do good things for you people. You got to pay me back. You got to give me the love. Last week I learned how to fly. This week I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to do something crazier for all you guys, so follow me.
Isn't there like some sort of special bread for Shabbat? Isn't there like a bread?
Yes, we got challah, people. We got challah. If you follow me right now, 2-for-1 deal. If you follow me, I will give you 2 rolls of challah, free.
If I'm already following you and I unfollow you and follow you back, do I get a free roll?
You go to hell.
God damn it.
You go to hell and you die.
You go to hell and you die. Thanks for listening to the MMA Podcast every Monday night at 11:30 Eastern, 8:30 Pacific. We try and get them up within 24 hours on the iTunes and on the YouTubes. We really appreciate you listening in. We love the shit out of you. Follow us on Twitter at the MMA Podcast. Until next Monday, we gone.
With our science, silencing all these idiots caught up in all their ignorance. 2 clans fighting under the same banner. We all got love for this ground game, and that's all that matters. In the balance of the teachings of the grandmaster, I'm trying to master the system. That's what I'm after, and stay true to the craft.